I originally wasn't going to use this footage because I went to check out the Mitsubishi Eclipse crossover because I was basically going to make a video detailing the reasons why Mitsubishi felt that they had to bring the Mitsubishi Eclipse back as a crossover. Now, normally I hate most foreign cars, but the Mitsubishi Eclipse was one of the foreign cars that I actually did like when it was just a car. In fact, I liked both of the generations of Mitsubishi Eclipse that I knew when I was younger, when I first started working. And I just find it so relevant that Mitsubishi felt that they had to bring this back as not a car, but as a crossover. So I went to check out the Mitsubishi Eclipse, and I went to take a good look at it. And the interior technology was actually pretty nice, but the rest of the car really felt like a cheap budget economy car. In fact, I'd go so far as to say Hyundai's newer interiors are so much better than Mitsubishi's. But I kind of thought that the technology inside was kind of interesting. It had like a Lexus touchpad, and then it had a little touch screen similar to what you find in BMW's cars now. But reinforces my point. When you're dealing with big, huge Americans and you're dealing with people who absolutely require extra space, you're not just dealing with small women. You're dealing with people who have children. You're dealing with people who have strollers. You're dealing with people who have wheelchairs. They got to carry all this shit around. These people are more and more abandoning cars. And because of that, the car market has shifted to crossovers and SUVs. Mostly small SUVs and mid-sized crossovers, because ultimately the problem is these SUVs themselves are extremely expensive. For instance, the new Ford Expedition, which I may check out eventually. So some of you might remember that I used to have a 2002 Expedition. But the new Expedition, for instance, the cost on that thing is way above the $50,000 range, which basically places it well above the cost of, say, a Jeep Grand Cherokee. Like the new Ford Expedition loaded costs more than, say, a Grand Cherokee Overland Summit loaded. Like, I mean, it's well into the 60s, closer to the mid-70 range, actually. And that's probably one of the biggest SUVs you can get, aside from, like, say, a Navigator or, say, the Escalade, or the GMC Yukon XL and whatnot. So I made a video recently talking about how big and huge and fucking fast that FCA's cars were, which is the reason why the Dodge Challenger had outsold the other muscle cars for so long, period by period. And the Dodge Charger was doing so well, regardless which trim you got. It didn't matter if you're getting the SXT. It didn't matter if you were getting a Hemi. Both of these cars are doing extremely well simply because these are huge cars. You could be a big guy. Shaq bought himself a Hellcat, for instance. I don't know if anybody remembers that. Shaq bought himself a Hellcat, and he had like a black Hellcat when they first came out. And Shaq, I thought it was so disgusting watching GM try to fit this dude into these pathetic Buick LaCrosses at the time, which were much, much smaller and much, much more cramped. But I'm pretty sure that Shaq had damn near no problem tilting that seat back and getting his big bulk into a Dodge Challenger Hellcat. And now you got the Dodge Challenger, you got the Dodge Charger, because, Shaq, he could afford any of this stuff right away. And he got the Charger and he got the Challenger. And I'm pretty sure he loves those cars. Like, he doesn't talk much about cars. But Shaq is a huge guy. The mere fact that FCA makes a product that makes it so that I don't have to buy a Navigator, that I don't have to buy an Escalade, that I can have seats that fold down and I have a massive trunk. The mere fact that they have products like that, it makes it so that, you're not forced to go buy one of these ugly, boring, soulless, shitty-ass crossovers like these stupid RAV4s and these horrible Honda Pilots. I don't want any of that. And there's a lot of people who really don't want any of that. The problem is they're forced to choose those things, and they don't want that. So thank goodness that we've got madmen over at Chrysler building exactly what I'm suggesting they built. So the pictures that I had of renders of the Dodge Challenger Hellcat upgrade with the 2 scoops, I actually didn't like it when I first saw it. And now that I look at the new picture, I'm actually liking it a little bit more. I think I can warm up to this design a little bit better. I think it looks a little bit better as you pan back and get away from it. Now, I don't know how this new look would look if they put that body molding from the wide body Hellcat Challenger on it. I think maybe it would look better. But then on Yahoo today, now I'm seeing that they have the Dodge Charger SRT Hellcat is getting a facelift. And basically they have coverings over the face, and they're obviously not going to tell you exactly what they're going to do yet. But my thinking is that instead of just being a facelift, they're probably going to do some mechanical upgrades. And when I say mechanical upgrades, I really do believe some of the rumors that I've heard that says that they're going to put in the high octane fuel option into more of their cars. Because when you really think about it, the high-octane fuel option, well, first of all, they're going to make a lot of gas stations really, really rich selling cars like this. Because the Hellcats, for instance, all of them lease for under $800 now, since they know that the financing days of those things are pretty much over. As far as I'm concerned, the only way that you should buy one of these cars is to lease it. And when you lease it, you have it for 2 years, and then you can put it on the market, and you can decide whether or not you want to get something else, or you have the decision whether or not you want to lease it with the option to buy. So you come back, you take it off lease, you finance it if you want to keep it. Problem is, they've been making such awesome products. It's hard to believe that anybody would really want to keep these things because they keep coming out with new stuff. But the Dodge Charger Hellcat basically, if not the fastest, one of the fastest top 3 4-door sedans that you can possibly buy. Now, under $70,000, nobody else even comes close to competition. Yeah, it's easy for somebody to throw a Nissan GTR or BMW M5 or BMW M4. It's easy for them to say that, or it's easy for them to talk about a Mercedes AMG. But the hard part is paying over $110,000 for one, especially when those cars pretty much optioned out. They basically begin where, say, the Jeep Trackhawk where it ends, because a Trackhawk is about $86,000. You throw all the stuff in it, comes out to about close to $100,000, and that's $5,000 premium leather. So basically, those cars are stickering for damn near twice what one of these cars is stickering for. But why pay that much if you don't have to? And that's the reason why their cars right now are outselling the competition. There is no competition right now for FCA. The closest competitor I can possibly think of is actually Hyundai. Hyundai has a new V8 in, say, their Genesis G80, their G90. The problem is those are not like sports racing drag muscle cars. That's not what those cars are for. Their V8 is basically just so they can say they have a V8. When the vast number of people buying that car, they're going to opt for the H-Track V6 all-wheel drive, just like I did. And that's pretty much the reason why Chrysler abandoned us when they were supposed to give us a SRT Hellcat. They were supposed to give us a 6.4 Hemi with the new 8-speed, which they never did. Like right now, the Chrysler, you can only get the 300 here in America with a 5-speed, and it doesn't in any way give that engine the power that it needs. And I'm also disappointed that they got rid of the Magnum. And whenever I talk about the Magnum, there's always somebody who wants to say, oh, yeah, well, the Magnum wasn't selling. The Magnum wasn't selling because it was in its first generation. The Magnum never saw an 8-speed transmission, and it never saw the 6.4 engine. It also never obviously saw the Hellcat engine, and it also never saw the best-selling engine that they have, the Pentastar V6. Even when they put that engine into the minivan, the Pacifica, that's actually a fast accelerating vehicle that accelerates better than the Audi 2.0 Turbo Q whatever little small bullshit stupid foreign car that I was driving. I made a video of it, but it's not really worth talking about because it sucked. So my thing is, it's like, if they just keep on going, they have the LX platform, which they strengthened, they lengthened it into the LY platform. The thing about it is there's no money to retrieve on that platform. They can literally keep building these cars. They can keep putting bigger and faster engines. They can even make aluminum blocks drop some weight off. But that platform has no money left to recover. So every dime that they make at this point, profit. I'm really glad to finally see some spy shots. Unfortunately, it's spy shots of the same product that's basically out now, minus the fact that you're getting a facelift. I like the idea of getting a facelift, but I know a lot of people are going to be upset because now it obsoletes their cars. Because of the fact that so many people need all-wheel drive so that they can drive all year long, the Jeep SRT, in my opinion, is the absolute best product that FCA has, especially for that $1,000 a month practicality and all other aspects of it. It's a better value than the Trackhawk. The last video that I made where I went to my dealership for oil change and tires and all that, I neglected to actually make a video portion of me perusing how many Trackhawks they actually had in the back, which you can see here in this picture. The Trackhawks right now are not selling. Most of the dealers are over flooded with them, in fact, and I feel that all Chrysler really had to do was put the Hellcat hood on it. Even though I complained about the color of the brakes and I complained about the design of the wheels not being as cool as the ones that I have on my Jeep, the simple fact is, if you're going to spend $100,000 for something, they have to understand the mentality of the average buyer. They're dropping 100 plus on the Demon, but they won't do it for the Trackhawk. And the Trackhawk is a far more usable and practical product at the same price, give or take. The answer is because the Trackhawk looks just like a regular damn Jeep Grand Cherokee. I would go so far as to say that mine looks better than the Trackhawk. If they change that hood with the next iteration, I really believe it'll sell better. Given the end of this year, summer, once it's over, you're definitely going to see markdowns on the Trackhawk. Even though there's salesmen and there's all these people who like to argue with me, I've bought too many of these cars at this point to not see the trends. You may remember I made a video buying a Chrysler 300 SRT, and it was like $10,000 off or whatever, and I ended up buying a different one that had the black interior, brand new, and this, that, and other. That video's in my video files. I really hope that Chrysler will give us a 300 SRT Hellcat. I see no reason why they can't give us a 300 SRT Hellcat. They should also be giving us the 6.4 with the 8-speed. It's the same goddamn parts from the Dodge Charger and Challenger. I don't like the Dodge product as much as the Chrysler product because the Chrysler product has so many more luxury upgrades and features in it, like the panoramic roof, heated and cooled cup holders, this, that, and other. I like my Charger that I got. I would love to be able to get, say, a wide-body Challenger Hellcat, which I possibly could, because the thing about it is the lease deals that they got on these things, man, they're giving these things away like you wouldn't believe. Like, they'll drop for less than $600 a month as long as you are able to afford the insurance. But my thing is, it's like, I really feel that they're missing an opportunity to be capitalizing on the fact that everybody really wants these cars. Everybody wants a decent lease on them. Most people, I would say, are willing to pay about $1,000 a month. It's just that right now, it feels like they don't have enough of a product. For instance, Chrysler only has two cars. They got the Pacifica and the 300. They gave up on the 200. The 200 was basically too small. They gave up on the Dart. The Dart was too small. That was a Dodge product. And in my opinion, the 200 would have almost been better as the Dart. And they needed something a little bit bigger in order to slot right below the 300, but they didn't do that. The problem is Chrysler, GM, and Ford, I don't know if they're willing to accept facts. They suck at making small cars. The Ford Focus might be the one exception. Maybe I could also say the Fiesta. But they're not good at making small cars. Or what the real problem is, you're making cars in a country where the average person is fucking huge. So instead of going after the small car market in America, Ford has pulled back and they said, yo, we're not going to do it anymore. What we're going to do is we're going to focus on making crossovers, SUVs. That's a smart decision. Stop making little ass fucking cars. But it's not enough for you to simply make a big car. You have to make it fast. I don't want a big car that controls like a damn tank because some dumbass at Ford decided that a 4-cylinder or a V6 with twin turbo hair dryers was enough for me. Just like my Jeep that weighs 5,200 pounds or even the Trackhawk that weighs 5,400 pounds. I want my cars to be big, huge, and fucking fast. Say it with me. Big, huge, and fucking fast.